Hello, fellow family. It's a peaceful day here, peaceful yet joyous. So I want to share this on a trail here, and I brought the phone along. Contemplate making a video. Actually, sitting outside earlier today and observing nature all around, and the inspiration arose to make a video now. Now, such inspiration came from simply observing nature. So I believe it's important for all of us to get outside, even just for a few moments each day. Give thanks. Freely give thanks. Give your energy freely, as we were given freely. Acknowledge the beauty and feel the unity. And you do that consistently, even just a few moments each day, you'll notice the whole world transforms around you. You'll realize that the miraculous is manifest right now. It's all around us. We don't even have to call it miraculous. We don't have to give it the label. We can simply and peacefully get out and observe the world all around us and realize that the whole universe is consciousness, is our consciousness. It's one consciousness. There's not your consciousness and my consciousness and her consciousness and the tree's consciousness. It's actually all simultaneously one consciousness arising automatically. Get out and simply observe all that surrounds us. Close your eyes. Allow your other senses to simply take in and be the loving witness of that which we call consciousness, that which we can call consciousness. Now, I'm not trying to be blinded by the light, and I want you to see my eyes, because eyes are important, you know what I mean? So I'm just going to move the video camera a little bit and flow with it, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, as I was sitting out meditating, we can label it, this morning, and the inspiration arose just to publicly give thanks for nature. So I get outside every day and give thanks and acknowledge the beauty, but why not do it on YouTube, right? And hopefully you guys can feel that too. I know you can. You feel that gratitude. Like I said, the whole world will transform around you. The whole observable universe, that which we perceive with the five senses, that which we call consciousness, is an extension of our own being. It's all one being. And you'll notice too, whether you close your eyes and it's the sound of a raven calling, or the sound of the creek which you may hear burbling in the background, or a chipmunk scurrying over the crunching leaves. Whatever it may be, the sound of the creek. It's the cosmic heart expressing its vitality in you and me and everybody and everything. We can call it beauty. Simply be the loving witness, to not be in our own heads. Unless intended by volition or empowered by inspiration. Unless it's about spiritual oneness or our purpose, our unity consciousness, thoughts are kind of just gibberish, right? Overthinking. Unless they're intended, or unless we're kind of detachedly witnessing them as they arise, like the chipmunk that's scurrying along the ground. That just happens out of nowhere, right? You're simply observing with your eyes closed in that constant, timeless space, which we can call I amness, that permanent silence that's the background of all sound, and you hear birds start singing or whatever it is, that just happens automatically. That's creation, the generous heart of God expressing as creation, as sound, without any doer. Mother, Father, Creator, harmoniously expressing as nature, as us, all that is visible, born from the unmanifest, the invisible realm. Now, that might not sound reasonable. Some of us may believe, I only believe in what is tangible, what I can see, what I can perceive with the five senses. But you see, that argument in itself to say that the only thing that's real is that which can be measured, that which can be organized, that which is tangible. That argument in itself is an abstract argument. Such a proposition arises from that which is invisible, like thoughts. Of course, a lot of modern civilization has began with thought, but the power to create the Empire State Building, for instance, the tallest building in New York City, that didn't think itself, that didn't create itself, that arose from the invisible realm. It began as a thought, a concept in the mind of the creator, of the individual expression of the one mother, father, creator that is inherent within all of us. No separate creators, there's no individual doers. See, if I were to sit down right now, if there's a chair, and just pop a squat, right? To think that I'm the doer is really erroneous, fallacious, false. Because I'm simply the pure consciousness, the pure awareness that is the background, the silence. It's the same silence that you see when you look into a baby newborn's eyes. Innocence, timeless, is pure awareness. The light is silence. It's beautiful and it's peaceful. And as I pop a squat, I might think I'm the mind or the body engaged in the action, but really I'm the impartial, constant consciousness that is the loving witness of the divine dance. We were born enlightened. And some of us may have been taught out of it. I know I was so conditioned based on environmental upbringing. But we need not blame or condemn the past and therefore be limited by it. We can simply acknowledge it for what it is and transcend it, move beyond it. Because the truth is, we're not limited by our environment, either past environment or current environment. It's really our attitude towards it that makes all the difference, that we could say determines whether or not we're victorious or defeated by it. And of course, in reality, there's no such win-lose dichotomy. There's no such polarity. In the worldly game, we can say there's some winners and some losers, but really, fundamentally, there's no such concepts in reality. something in the last video that I mentioned briefly, and I want to speak a little bit more on. Actually, funnily, is that a word? Funny, right? Making up words. Funnily, it sounds fun. It's like bubbles. Certain words are fun to say, just the sound of the words. You're making up noises, right? Like, as I'm speaking, you're making up meanings in your head. Say I'm speaking Spanish. It's completely coherent to somebody who speaks Spanish, but to us, it's mumbo jumbo. To us that interpret English and don't know Spanish, it's kind of like, what is this guy saying? Just a bunch of sounds murmuring, right? To understand that, universe is sound. Universe, one sound, right? Singing its song. But anyways, funnily, the inspiration that, hey, just look, I just happened to look at the time and it was 11:11. Is 11:11. Was and is, right? It's all happening now. Expressing this same sound simultaneously. Anyways, funnily, right? Third time's a charm. Father, Son, Holy Spirit, Holy Trinity. Funnily, the inspiration to make this video that I spoke of earlier at the beginning of the video was to elaborate more so on what I mentioned in the last video about love. Now, a common theme amongst religions is the fact that they all teach love, right? And ironically, that can kind of get in the way of it. That can turn some people off. Or more dramatically, it can kind of corrupt it. Of course, fundamentally, love can't be corrupted because it's a force. It's not something that, again, we're not doers. We're not rationers of love. We don't give love because it's something that we align ourselves to. It's a force, an energy field. We could say an attractor pattern, a level of consciousness, a certain frequency that we harmonically attune. See, there's an R word. Sometime talking about come again as a child. Had a speech issue with R words as a child, and I still seem to have that issue. Certain words, harmonically attuned. But it's okay, we can forgive ourselves for mistakes. They're not really mistakes. Nothing can actually make mistakes. I guess it's only a mistake if you don't learn from it, but, you know, certain R words, man. Anyways, love is a force. It's not something that we do or we give. It's something that we become or align ourselves to within as a result of, we could say, it's born of the invisible realm, certain principles that we, and values that we align with and that we live by, allows us to be attracted to this force and align with it. And thus, we witness ourselves as being the loving witness. There's no sense of separateness. There's a harmonious sense of unity consciousness. And once you're loving, there's certain things that you can never do again. You're not really swayed by temptation. And once you're in the energy field of love, there's certain things that, you know, are, I don't like using the word impossible, but are unlikely otherwise. Say you're stuck in the strict realm of reason and logic, right? As I was saying earlier, to think that, to believe in that all that is real is what is tangible, measurable. To be kind of limited to that realm. And reason is great, but from a certain viewpoint, it's kind of vain. You know, it thinks highly of itself, and there's nothing more unattractive than somebody not only who's full of themselves, but is self-admiring. So, love is unconditional. It's not something that we can put in a box. There's no spiritual label or scientific label. It's not a commodity. It's not something that we can control. As George Orwell said, they fear love because it builds a world that they can't control. Who's they? Well, that's a topic of discussion for another video. However, love can't be controlled. It's not conditional. You may say, my love for my child is unconditional. Well, first of all, you say my love as if there's somebody that owns it. Nobody owns it. You can't possess it because you're possessed by it. That's the difference. There's no possessor. You are the possessed. And thus, it's dangerous to society, to the general consensus, because it can't be controlled. Because one who is loving can operate wholly, alone, and they can stand against the whole world. They can go against the whole world and stand tall. And they don't even see it that way because they feel at one with the world. And they don't feel alone because it's unconditional. It's not based on personal memory or time. And it's not based on personal history, which are all conditions. You may say, my love for my child, as I was saying, to loop back to, is unconditional. Of course it's unconditional. But really, if we investigate this, we'll notice it's not. Because such so-called love is based on a relationship. It's based on an investment or an attachment. That same love that you have for your child, can you have that for another child? In the same way, in the same intensity? In the same unconditionality? That's a big question. Same love that you have for your child, can you have it for a tree? All that's 3D, expressing this reality? Can you love it all the same way? Indiscriminately? Of course, discrimination is key. Certainly, in certain aspects of life. But it can often be a hindrance, an obstruction to that heartfelt sense of unity with everything. To allow yourself to express freely, to love unconditionally, to operate and live harmoniously, to vibrate intensely, with a high sense of energy and love for life. To live a life full of meaning, full of joy, and full of peace. Simply get out in nature. Enjoy that abundance that's all around us. Enjoy that which we're blessed with. I was on a hike a couple days ago and I was walking barefoot at night. A couple people walking by me on the way down. They're like, do you always hike barefoot at night? I was like, oh, almost every day. You know, the feet get used to it, eyes get used to it, kind of develop a night vision, right? You adapt. They're like, wow. As having a conversation with them, actually I overheard them eavesdropping a little bit. And I brought up, I was like, We're so grateful. We have all of our limbs. We're living, breathing, being. And they were talking about their cousin Olivia, who lost feeling in her leg. I brought that up. I was like, man, just provides perspective, some context. You know, things can always be worse if we wake up on the wrong side of the bed, so to speak. If we're having a bad day. I remember reading a book as a kid, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. And say we're having a day like that, it's still okay. We can still be grateful. We can put things in proper context, see things from a wider perspective, understand that we're grateful to be where we are right now, wherever we may be, whoever we may be, whatever our past may be. Something that I say constantly, kind of unconsciously, now it's kind of automatic at this point, is it's only by grace. It's only by grace. Something happens, something kind of takes me out of the moment. My attention is drawn outwardly to outward sensory testimony, whether it be a car driving by or something loud that kind of, pulls me out, so to speak. I say it's only by grace. It's a great mantra, something to affirm constantly. It's only by grace. It's only by grace that we exist, that we coexist. It's only by grace that no matter if we perceive ourselves to be horrible sinners, it's only by grace that right now, in this moment, at any instant, we can be alleviated from that and brought to a high level of consciousness, instantaneous, without any seeking, without any controlling, without any trying. Happens harmonious. This can happen to any of us. It can happen to a murderer. And likewise, somebody who operating at a high level of consciousness, if they're not conscious and careful, they succumb to temptation, which are really another word for temptation is demon, an addiction, a habit. Habits that we formed when we were younger that we may carry into our adulthood if we're not careful, if we're not conscious. A person at a high level of consciousness, if they're not careful, they can be brought down temporarily. Of course, not fundamentally, because in reality, we're a timeless awareness, a formless awareness, that which is beyond the three-dimensional reality, although all that we perceive with the five senses is a function of consciousness. It's not that awareness, which is simultaneously transcendent, but also immanent. It's within, but also it's beyond. And it's always with us. There's no escaping it, no matter what kind of day we're having. Whether it's a peaceful and joyous day today, only day there is today, tomorrow never comes. Whatever the weather, whether it's good or bad weather, whatever sided spectrum, however we may interpret it, wherever we may fall on the vibratory spectrum of infinite frequency, infinite levels of awareness, levels of consciousness, infinite frequencies, but fundamentally there's only one awareness, and we're all that. And it's a loving awareness. It's a joyous awareness, peaceful awareness, a beautiful awareness, a joyous awareness, harmonious, blissful, unconditional. It's not a who. It's more like a what. It's not a role or a label. It's not personal. But at the same time, you could say God is both personal and impersonal. God's everything, right? God is life. I, I, I don't particularly like using that word. Personal like, right? Likes and dislikes. I don't prefer to use that word because it can stir different images and beliefs in people's head bones. But at the same time, I love to talk about it. Love to talk about us. Hence why I'm on here, expressing this.